Hello, everyone. This is James Nussbaumer, author of The Master of Everything, a story of mankind in the world of illusion that we call life. On sale everywhere books are sold by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, my publisher that I'm so proud of, which initiated this book, really the contract with Dolores, the late Dolores Cannon, who came into my life while I was in prison to sign a contract with me on this. But let me explain first of all. The title of this blog is "Will It Take a Literal Hell for You to Find Your Destiny?" Well, I've been getting a lot of messages on Facebook and on my YouTube account too as well. Is when I found the Course in Miracles, it was in the library. So was there another edition that I found somewhere along the way? Someone had said, and that's what I'm going to explain here. This is just part of the miracle that happened, and I feel I just need to get it out there. This is in my book, the whole complete story. But I want to put this to video to answer some of my smiling friends out there on Facebook that message me all the time, and they're just so nice, so nice. There's Deborah J. of Toronto, Canada. I don't want to say last names because just for her own safety and protection. And there's Janine L. of Sacramento, California, and Jordan D. in the Ramstein area of Germany. And on and on and on. People are just been so nice to me about reading my book, and they've got all these questions. So, okay, we want to get in. I've got minimal time with this video, so let's get going here with this. But I hope you become a part of the momentum, the master of everything, because it's really going strong, and I'd like you to be a part of the momentum. But will it take a literal hell for you to find your destiny? For me, prison without a doubt is a true hell. But it's where I broke through my own limiting beliefs and allowed the light of my reality to take charge of me. Now let me read you something in chapter 20 of my book. The first step toward healing and trusting your true vision involves a sorting out of the confusion between falsehood and truth. That's chapter 20, and the title of that chapter is called Allowing Darkness to Find the Light. And what happens when darkness finds the light? The darkness fades away because the light takes over. After I literally stumbled into A Course in Miracles while new to prison and facing a 10-year term for a ridiculous and foolish securities violation on my part, and still mad at myself about the whole ordeal, and also mad at the judge for using me as an example, and my lawyer who did nothing for me, and this stinking hell of a prison for whatever I could blame them for. And I finally realized I'd been renewing A Course in Miracles that I had found in the library, which is I described in one of my previous videos, but I'd been renewing the course for 3 months from the prison library. I was feeling a oneness with these words. I asked the librarian who had worked as a state employee in this same library since the prison opened in 1995, and she had never heard of A Course in Miracles. After all, it was her book in her library, and she was there since the prison opened in 95, but she had never heard of it. Okay? But so in a very abrupt and authoritative fashion, she answered, "A course in what?" And she had never heard of it, like I'd said. So I asked around among a few other inmates who I thought, might be of the intellect and likely, and all of them answered the same thing. No one had ever heard of A Course in Miracles. No one. I couldn't find a single person in prison who ever heard of it. And to this day, I have not run into a single individual that really knows much about A Course in Miracles, other than it's something spiritual, but they really don't know too much about it. But the whole time I was in prison, it was like I never ran into the book, never ran into it. So not too many people have heard of A Course in Miracles that was published in 1975. I had to do something, at least try to get a copy of the course, and even thought about asking the librarian if she would work with me somehow, but somehow I waited and remained patient for a while. for a little while longer. Although, to fast forward a little bit before I go on, by the time I left Belmont, I had worked out a deal with the librarian where she gave me the old Ragged book in the library, which I still now have in my possession. But where I'm going at now, I didn't know that I was going to get this book, get that from her at the time. So while I was at my bunk one morning, double bunks, bottom, top bunk, 30 inches apart, in an open bay dormitory kind of setting with this prison, just terrible, terrible, ugly, stinky, smelly place. While at my bunk one morning reading and studying the age-yellowed, dirty, and faded pages of the library's copy of the course, I was called to go see the house sergeant. You see, my request a few months prior for a bed move had finally come through. I was being moved to a much quieter section of the prison, to an area that was earmarked for what they called senior housing. Now remember, I was age 50 when I got to prison. A senior in prison, though, was considered age 35 and older. Age 35, that just goes to show you, how many young people are there in prison. And at age 50, I was really an old geezer. So a senior housing was age 35 and over. So at least now, I would get a break from my bunkmate and all the neighbors who called me Pops. So at least I'd be in the senior area. Even though I was 50, I'd still be 15 years older than the youngest ones in that area. But upon arriving with my belongings at the new bunk location, A96, I plopped my property onto the mattress and steel springs of the bunk and greeted my new bunkie, who was not in a very good mood. Next to our double bunk was a rusty old wall locker decorated with initials and dates back to the 1960s. Yes, I had said that the prison opened in 1995, but they had shipped equipment and beds and lockers and things like that from other prisons that had closed down. But, initials and names were etched into the scratched up, rusty old wall locker. Just rusty, terrible. I can't believe just so rusty. It was just disease-filled lockers. It was the way you would see it. But just terrible. I would share this cabinet, this one locker cabinet I would share with my bunkie. The two of us would share this, and each of us would possess one side. The top of my half of the locker cabinet was terribly dusty, and I began to wipe it down, and I noticed what appeared to be a thick book underneath a torn and dirty rag that was part of an old towel. As I removed the cloth, I was shocked to find a very clean and minimally tarnished copy of A Course in Miracles. Yes, and in my book I describe my tears. And I was shaking. Is this some kind of a joke? I thought to myself. I thought, but how could it be a joke? I asked underneath my breath this. My voice was shaking with utter confusion. Right away, I asked my new bunkie, who I didn't even know yet, if he was aware of the book's rightful owner. He simply shrugged, and he was trying to take a nap and rolled over in his bed, turned his back to me, and shook his head. And all he could tell me was that it had been sitting there for ages, and that the previous occupant used it as a sort of a shelf where he placed his girlfriend's picture. The book was not used for reading material at all. It had simply been sitting untouched for God knows how long. I circled the bunk area in the open bay dormitory, and I was all around, and I was holding the book up high, asking if anyone had misplaced it, if it was theirs, and nobody would claim it. And my new bunkie, who was grumpy, like I had said, had finally said, "Dude, give it up. I tell you, dude, no one knows anything about that book. It has been sitting there for a long time, dude. Now, come on, let it go. Just keep it. It's yours," he said. I cannot describe how I felt that day. I was shaking, literally shaking with anxiety and wonder. I had already been a student of the course for about 3 months from that battered book I was renewing from the library. Now this new book, a newer not the same version, but a cleaner, untarnished book suddenly appears when I'm moving that day from to the senior housing area, a more safer area. It just suddenly appeared to becoming my own private personal copy. How did it get into the prison and into my wall locker? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Bible is everywhere in this place of despair, hopelessness, and loneliness, and is widely used. But no one I have ever met while I was in prison has ever heard of A Course in Miracles. No one. Was this a miracle in itself? This publication showing up like it did, and with the events that put me there? I'll let you decide the answer to that question as you ponder some of your own extraordinary experiences in life that have gifted you, that may come across as extraordinary and miraculous. Hey, everyone, to Everyday Miracles, and I wish the best for you. By the way, I have to say that, let me quickly add, I have a system that I use to claim real abundance in my life now, and it's working very well, and I'm able to earn attractive residual income online by helping others get what they want in life, and I'm so pleased with the results that I'm getting. And it's real and operated by really good people. And if you'd like to know more about this, click on the link in the description box of this YouTube video. On the very first line of this YouTube video, my jamesnussbaumer.com, it will take you to my Real Abundance page, and you'll find out all that you need to know there. And my website is very simple, easy to tool around. That's the way I like to keep it simple. And hey, thanks for putting up with me. And my story is just amazing. I'm thrilled of A Course in Miracles being in my life. And God bless you, and I wish the best for you.